This is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. Tea time.
Well, good morning and welcome to Tea Time. That's right, we're back another week, already the middle of June. Who knew that we would get all the way over to June, right? We're almost at number 70 for Tea Times this year, and we're only in June, so we still have another half a year to go. So, yeah, we're just flying by with Tea Times. But this morning, I have the founder and creator of ElderDog Canada. That's right, Ardra Cole is here, and she's sitting in the back studio. So we're going to do all the good stuff. We're going to do the disclaimer and a little bit of bio and a little bit more on elder dogs. And then we're going to sit back and we're going to spill a good, strong TEA. So don't forget to grab your breakfast. It's morning time, so eat your breakfast. It's very important that we eat our breakfast so that we can have a good, strong day. And share this tea time because you just never know whose life you might change. And we're going to talk some dogs this morning. That's right, we're doing doggies. And we're going to talk about the connection and the companionship of how much it's important to just really just have that good friendship. So let's get into the disclaimer and the bio and all of that. And then I'm going to get Ardra Cole in here, and then I'm going to sip on my tea. And you guys grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your juice, and share this tea time and share it with your family. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness, connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in this morning's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, in 2023, all tea times are done on a Thursday, unless they are a rescheduled tea time, which will be a Monday or a Tuesday. So now a little bit about ElderDog Canada. ElderDog Canada is a national not-for-profit charity dedicated to supporting older people, seniors' dogs, and the important relationship they enjoy. Headquartered in Nova Scotia and with chapters, the PAWDS, in 8 provinces, more than 3,500 volunteers carry out the work of elder dogs. Our no-fee service includes providing older adults in-home assistance with basic dog care, finding new homes for older dogs who have lost their humans due to illness, death, or relocation, helping seniors find a mature canine companion to grow old with, and supporting research and educating the public about the important role of the dogs in seniors' lives. I'm gonna get Audra in here and we're gonna spill some tea now, and then I'm gonna get the questions and all that good stuff. So again, share this tea time, ring that bell, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when all of these tea times are live. So let me get Audra in here. Welcome, Audra.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
It is an honor to have you here. Could you share a little bit on the story on how Elder Dogs started?
Sure, I will. So I am as a career, I'm a university professor, and so I do research as part of that work. And I was doing research on caregiving and dementia, particularly interested in what care looks like for family members who are caring for a loved one. And this was a program of research that took place over about 8 years. And my research partner and I traveled across the country talking with people about caregiving. And we asked them to take photographs of what care looked like. And we asked them if they could represent care to them as in the form of a symbol or an artifact. And one of the things that we noticed in our conversations and in what people shared otherwise was the role of the family dog as part of the care team. And that really piqued my interest because at the time I had a dog, one dog, and that dog and I were volunteers in a wonderful organization called Therapeutic Pawds of Canada. And we would regularly go to long-term care facilities and hospitals and visit with older people who were, temporarily and sometimes for a longer term away from their home and wanted a bit of a visit with a dog. And so my dog Tattoo seemed to have a particular gift for comforting people at end of life. So we focused our attention on palliative care. And we would visit in palliative care units regularly. And I observed him at work, and it was such a gift and such a learning to see what he was able to do, giving comfort and just being alongside someone and even family members at this very difficult time in their lives at end of life. And so those two things kind of came together, the realization of dogs, of the role that dogs played in caregiving, but also seeing firsthand the comfort that dogs provide. And then I had a personal experience where my brother died very suddenly, and he was living on his own with his dog. And his dog, whose name was Mr. Brown, was an old chocolate lab who had terminal cancer. And so I stepped forward and said, Mr. Brown can come and live with me. And at that time I had 2 dogs. And because I could take care of him. And so he did come to live with me. And as he lived a good 2 years until the cancer took his life. But during that time, I watched him in his illness just thrive and, do everything that he could do, to be the dog that he wanted to be. And as I was observing him and caring for him, I used to think, wow, what would happen to the Mr. Browns of the world if no one steps forward to take care of them if they're left alone, or if they lose their companion. And of course, no one who's looking for a dog in a shelter will line up to take an old and ill dog. So we know without too much thought what happens to old dogs, and particularly ill dogs. So I thought, boy, that's, I have to do my part in not letting that happen. And as a university researcher, I felt that I was in a place where, in both my personal and professional life, where I had a responsibility to make a difference. And the coming together of those three experiences or awarenesses really formed ElderDog. And it was almost as if ElderDog was there waiting for me, and all of a sudden it presented itself. So I thought, okay, ElderDog is going to be it for me. I'm still a university professor. I still work full time, but ElderDog is my other full time work, and that's how we got started, and haven't looked back.
So, Ardra, you had mentioned the Pelicare, the hospice, and that just clicked in my head. We never think of the animals. When people are in hospice, what happens to their animals? How did you find out that was a place to start with tattoo?
Well, when tattoo came into my life, I quickly realized, his temperament, his personality, his character, his demeanor was such that he had a lot of good to do in the world. And so I did a little bit of research on different services that dogs are involved in. And I came across this organization that I mentioned, Therapeutic Pawds of Canada. And I contacted them and became quite involved in the organization. And then that's how Tattoo and I got started. Yeah. And it didn't take long to realize the difference that tattoo made. I mean, wasn't difference that I make. I just escorted tattoo. I was just there at the other end of the leash. But since then, I have continued to do research in long-term care facilities, in addition to the ElderDog work. But I've continued to do research on the role of dogs in care facilities. And I spend a fair bit of time in long-term care with dogs, and not since COVID, but prior to COVID. And it's really quite something to watch the joy that dogs bring to people and to staff, because when they're there, it's like a light goes on, and everyone smiles, and it's quite something. And it's particularly interesting to me, and I think observed by many staff and family members as well, what dogs are able to engender in people who have a cognitive decline. People who haven't verbalized or had a level of lucidity or awareness for a very long time. When a dog comes to them, sometimes they speak in full sentences. Wow. And it also helps them connect with memories of the past. And, it will say things like, I had a dog. And, you can see the connection that they feel, even though it's not their dog, it's a dog. And it's so beautiful. And And when people are at a point in their life where they're losing capacities of various kinds, to be able to restore some connection and to provide companionship and joy is a wonderful thing.
Well, and I think we don't speak enough about companionship, right, with our pets. And it is true. Like you bring a dog in, and I had a puppy, I had a dog. It brings back those memories, those good times. And I think that's what we need when, especially when we're suffering, we're battling an illness or something. We just need that companionship where we can actually understand and open up again. You did mention at the beginning of the show that you worked with patients with Alzheimer's and dementia. How
Mm-hmm.
do you feel that ElderDog has changed lives with those patients?
Oh my goodness. Well, interesting that you ask that because just 2 days ago, I had this beautiful message in the form of a story from someone who adopted an elder dog. And it was quite lengthy, so I won't, I'll try to abbreviate it. But an elder dog came into our care, a little dog, a tiny dog, a Yorkie, and she was 11 years old and needed a new home because her senior had passed away. And a couple, an older couple, adopted her, or him, I should say, adopted him, and he became the best companion to the man in the family who had dementia. And this little dog, whose name was Bear, was his constant companion. And the gentleman eventually passed away, and his wife didn't feel that she was able to care for Bear any longer. And so she contacted ElderDog and explained the situation. And lo and behold, there was another couple who were looking for an older dog. And this gentleman in that family also had dementia. And little Bear went from one gentleman to another and became his constant companion. And the letter that I got, or the story, was from the second, what do you call, the second mums, from the second mum, and her husband also passed away. And so she wanted to reach out to ElderDog to tell me and to share with others how much this little dog had done for two senior families dealing with this horrible illness, and how he was also able to give her comfort in dealing with her grief. And then, of course, she sent along a photograph of the two, of her and him, little Bear, together. And she said, I really don't know what any of us would have done without Bear.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a story that's just 2 days old, It was so powerful.
Well, and this is why I wanted to have you on Teatime, because I actually have a sister that I co-authored in the anthology Sacred Hearts Rising, and she was walking one of the older senior dogs, and she brought up ElderDog, and I was like, I need more information on this because this needs to be out there. You guys need to be out there. People need to understand the importance of organizations like what you're doing, and not for profit. It's just the volunteer, just making a difference, impacting lives, and having these stories that are sent to you, where you're changing lives. And this is what Teatime is. It's about changing lives. And you're perfect. Yeah, you're perfect to be here. Like, and to hear these stories, and I can just imagine when you get these letters of all the different dogs that have made the difference. And
Mhm.
I want to ask how you came about the name Elder Dog.
Yeah, well, we wanted a name that, kind of forged the connection between dogs and older people. And I really like titles, names that can be interpreted in a variety of ways. And so, I think using I'll back up a little bit. I think in our North American society, as in other cultures and societies, many others, senior people can be invisible and not treated very well. So we live in an ageist society, and ageism is well noted as the only acceptable ism in our culture and society, which is something that I rail against. And so I wanted to use a term that was really imbued with more respect. And I think elder is imbued with more respect than senior, for example. And I also wanted, to think about elder people, elder dogs, and that connection. And so, well, the dog had to be there for sure. And I liked using the word elder because, for
Yeah.
reasons I've just said. And then, of course, because we wanted to go across Canada, then it just became ElderDog Canada.
Well, and I think it's really important what you said, Audrey, because growing up, I always heard respect your elders, not respect your seniors, respect your elders.
Yes.
So I understand where the elder comes in. And it is a sad situation where ageism is, we don't speak about it. It is the invisible ism. There is not a lot of conversation on that. So I want to thank you for bringing that to the table, because I think
Mhm.
I'm going to have to get somebody on here for ageism, like we really need to start talking about these topics,
Yeah.
all these isms. Why is one more spoken than the other one? They're all equal. Especially at my table, everyone is equal. So,
Yeah.
we need to be talking about this. Uh, so you did say that it is across Canada, and you did mention that it is in 8 provinces. So what provinces is it in?
So we're coast to coast, across the country from Newfoundland, Labrador to British Columbia. And we skip so far, but we're working on it, Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So it's in all other provinces. And I'm delighted to say that as we speak, we're starting our first pod in Quebec. So just delighted by that, and we're translating our materials into French. And we've had activity in Quebec, but not in a really structured way. So when I said Pawds, PAWDS, that's what we call our chapters. And the term, I just kind of wanted to play a little bit with the word pod, as in a pod of like a unit, but get the paw in there. And then since then, we also use pod as an acronym, so people acting for the wellness of dogs and seniors. So yeah, so we call our chapters pods, and we started in Nova Scotia. That's where our national office is. We started with one pod in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and followed soon after by one in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then we've been growing ever since, and now we're up to almost 40 pods across the
Oh,
country.
wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And you only started in 2018, correct?
No, 2012.
2012.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're in our 11th year operationally.
That is awesome. So anyone that is listening to this tea time and that will share it with their family and friends, Saskatchewan and Manitoba is open. So reach out to Elda. Yeah. Yeah. And we really just got to get the companionship. We got to get that footprint and the logo, the footprint and the paw, it really speaks loud. And I like how simple it is. It's not complicated. You look at the logo, you look at the image, and you understand what it means.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the programs that you offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our busiest program is and really captures the heart of ElderDog is our dog care support program, and so in that program we provide assistance, daily, basic care assistance for older adults who are living at home with a companion dog, canine, and need a little bit of extra help. And what that could be, and often is help with exercise, seeing that their dog gets enough exercise.
Yeah.
And so, dog walking, or even taking older dogs out for what we call sniffaries, where they're maybe not walking too far, but they're sniffing the way along, because that's really good intellectual stimulation. And so we provide that kind of assistance. We take dogs to appointments, grooming, vet appointments. We help with administering, medications such as, ear drops, eye drops, those basic things, nothing technical, but we help with hygiene, if dogs need to be bathed and it's a little bit too difficult for their companion to do that, we help with that. We also provide foster care if someone has a medical emergency or needs to be in hospital for short term. We'll provide foster care, and then we would also continue the support if during a recovery period, if that's necessary. So that program is very kind of labor intensive, because dogs just don't need one walk a week. They need walks every day or several times a day, depending on the need of the older person. And so we often have teams of people, volunteers, supporting one dog, with their human companion. So that's one program. Another program is our rehoming program. And this is kind of a Mr. Brown situation. So dogs come into our care if they lose a human companion. Either the person has to relocate to an accommodation where dogs are not allowed, which is devastating, or they pass away and there isn't a family member to care for the dog, or they have to just downsize and for whatever reason and just can't take their dog with them. And so dogs come into our care, and typically they're older dogs, and we find loving new homes for those dogs. And it's really interesting because we have waiting lists for dogs. And people come to ElderDog because they want an older dog. They don't want a puppy. They want a dog to grow old with, or they also recognize that older dogs bring with them certain gifts, and they've been around a while, and they want companionship of an older dog. And so that's another one of our programs. And another, some people who want a dog, would like to welcome a dog or have a dog, and are thinking ahead to their future and say, boy, I really worry about what happened to my dog if something happens to me. And so we have this program called our long-term care registration. And people can register in that program and provide as much information about the dog, their wishes, and the dog's lifestyle. And then that person can have the peace of mind knowing that if something does happen, the dog will come into ElderDog's care and be placed in a loving home for the rest of his or her life. And then we also do a lot of outreach and educational awareness about the important role that dogs play in the lives of older people. We work closely with health professionals, social workers, people who have regular contact with older people and really need to know that this dog is a very important part of this person's life, and we need to advocate for that. And then, of course, we support research, and I continue to do research in the area of the meaning and role of dogs in the lives of older adults.
Well, I think it's really deeply important, right, to keep the research going on, because there's so many things that change in the world, and rules and regulations. And like you said, some dogs are not allowed in certain premises and stuff like that. Uh, do any of the elder dogs do any service work for anxiety or mental health or anything like that?
Well, that's a big part of what they do, but not formally, if you know what I
Okay.
mean.
Yeah.
So as an example, the example I gave before about, this person saying, I don't know what I would have done without
Yeah.
Bear. That's a really good example. No, not what you would call a service dog, but certainly providing that service that, is really irreplaceable. And, and similarly going into long-term care facilities, the service that they provide is just being a dog and all that comes with that. Yeah, for sure. And we do support a number of older adults who have service dogs, whether that, for visually impaired older adults, or for people with, mental health issues and so on. And we're able to support them if they need that extra help.
Yeah, because there is a difference between elder dogs and service dogs.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I just really wanted to get that out there because we had a question, and I kind of just went around another way. That's what Miss Liz does. I just kind of reword it. But yeah, I wanted to make it an awareness that there are difference between elder dogs and service dogs. Service dogs are trained. They go through a lot of training for sensing certain mental illnesses, seizures, stuff like that as well. So that's completely different than what we're talking about today.
Yeah, our dogs don't go through any training or certification or anything like that.
So if anybody wanted to become a volunteer, how could they become a volunteer?
Well, I think the first thing would be to visit our website and find out about ElderDog. And there's on one of the drop down at the top, the volunteer page. Just visit that, and there's information about volunteering, what it involves, and an application form.
Oh, thank you so much. Now I want to switch it a little bit over to, if I give you the word TEA, what 3 words would you give me this morning?
Huh. They can be any 3 words.
3 words starting with the letter T-E-A.
T-E-A, right. Well, teaching is the first one, because I think, teaching, dogs teach us a lot. And ElderDog is really all about education, teaching, and awareness, for sure. The E is for ElderDog.
I like it.
So, and A, I guess I would say advocacy.
Oh,
Yeah,
because that's
advocacy.
exactly what you're doing as well, is you're advocating for these dogs. You're
And
speaking for the dogs.
yes, absolutely. And advocating for the important role that they play, and also advocating for support and recognition that older adults deserve to have the companionship that they have enjoyed. And so just because they're moving or unable to give the full-time care doesn't mean that they should be deprived of that companionship.
And I think it's really deeply important that we keep advocating for the elders. Like you said, ageism is something we don't speak about. It is the invisible ism. The word that came to mind for me when I did the research on elder dogs was helpful. But I want to ask you, Ardra, what word comes to mind for you when you think of elder dog?
Compassion.
Compassion. Now, you want to share a little bit why compassion?
Well, compassion is probably one of our most important values and underlying principles, because elders of any species deserve to be treated with respect and compassion. And, it's so interesting when I engage with the volunteers in our organization, across the country, that how incredibly compassionate people are. And ElderDog does seem to attract a particular kind of individual, someone who brings that compassion forward and recognizes the importance of caring with compassion. And so I think it's really a hallmark of what ElderDog stands for. And I think our society, our whole world is in a not a very good state right now. And I think, compassion, I think we have to hang that sign out there, and we have to live compassion and be so much kinder and caring and compassionate to others. So, and that's, animals and humans and our planet in general. So that's an important word for me.
And it is a good word for elder dogs. I never even thought of compassion. I just thought of being helpful, making that difference, just taking a walk. Sometimes we take a walk and we look and we see all these dogs, but we never seem to put it in our mind that maybe it's not even that person's dog. Maybe it's somebody walking someone else's dog. Have a little bit of compassion when you see somebody walking a dog. It might not, that might not be their dog. If you see them fussing or, not understanding the dog because maybe they're taking some dogs out. Is there like, I'm trying to think of the right word to say here. When you're getting volunteers, is there an assessment that you do for walking dogs and stuff like that for the programs and exercises?
Yeah. So, so there's a initial. So with the application process, every volunteer with ElderDog has to complete a vulnerable sector check, background check for work with vulnerable populations, and they also, every volunteer wears a lanyard with a photo ID, which which is only issued upon receipt of a vulnerable sector check. So that's that first part of it. And then everyone, depending on what they choose to volunteer in, there's a general orientation that everyone is required to participate in. And then say in our dog care support program, they would work closely with a coordinator in their pod. And that coordinator would kind of walk them through the various processes and the guidelines that we follow about visiting, about appropriate behavior, our credo, what's expected in terms of their volunteering, and our, dog interaction guidelines. And then we also make available on our YouTube channel and webinars that focus on different aspects of ElderDog and the work that we do. So they're available for people to watch again and again. And then they could focus on things like, understanding a senior dog and what a senior dog needs, recognizing a problem that a senior dog might have, because dogs can't talk and they're very tolerant of pain and so on. And how to work with a dog like that. Also about developing boundaries around the volunteering, because it's very common for people to kind of get caught up in wanting to help, and they can kind of overstep and do things, and it's not intentional, but we operate from a strength-based perspective. In other words, when someone asks for assistance, it's because they can do everything but this little thing that they need extra help with. So it's important to honor what they can do and just help them with what they need a little bit of extra help with, rather than saying, oh, you need this, well, let me just do everything for you. Right? And that doesn't do anyone any good. It's not respectful. And so, we have webinars about that kind of thing, because, it's kind of borderline ageist to assume just because someone's old, they're not able to do things. And so that's not intentional, but it is a form of unintentional ageism, which is a thing.
Yeah. Which we will be talking about on a different show.
Yeah.
I think it's an important topic to get out there. We really need to understand that just because someone is aging doesn't mean that they cannot do stuff. They need more help, they need more guidance, but they're still capable of doing things. And that's what I'm getting from ElderDog, is that it really is a support team. It is teamwork. And I'm so glad that you have an assessment, because there are a lot of programs and stuff out there that don't have assessments, don't have guidelines and stuff like that. So I'm really, really happy that you have that in place. I want to talk about, I noticed on your website, you have something about butterflies. So do you want to share a little bit about the butterflies? Because this is elder dogs, and then I see butterflies, and I was like, oh, I want to know a little bit more about these butterflies.
Yeah. So we have a partner organization called Friends of ElderDog Society. And so each year, ElderDog partners with our Friends of ElderDog, and we hold a memorial service and a butterfly release for dogs who have passed away. And this is held at our where our national office is located in Nova Scotia. And it's an absolutely beautiful event because it's a safe space for people to grieve the loss of a beloved, usually dog.
Yeah.
But it's not restricted to dogs, of course. But, you were mentioning grief earlier and grieving. And, as we know, there's another discriminatory practice in our society where it's not easy for someone who loses a companion animal of any kind to openly grieve that companion, that loss, because the response that they might receive from someone who doesn't really understand the relationship is, oh, get over it, it's just a dog. Or, well, just get another one. Or, and so people tend to grieve silently because the last thing they want to hear is that kind of a response and have their grief dismissed. So the butterfly release, that's the focus. This is honoring the memory of our companions who we've lost. The other thing we have also on the property, we have a chapel dedicated to the memory of dogs. And it's called Place to Pawds, P-A-W-S, play on words again. And it's a beautiful post and beam construction. It's kind of large-ish building. And inside, and it's open to the public, and inside, the walls are covered with pictures of dogs, and people come and leave a memento. So there's, hooks. People come and hang up a collar or a leash. Some people will come and leave, some memento of their dog, and people can light a candle in memory of a dog. There's a variety of things. We have little angel wings that people can purchase and have engraved and will hang there, and it's such a beautiful spot, and it's overlooking a cove, and it's people come back again and again. It's also what we call a canine columbarium. So columbarium is a place that cremains or urns holding cremains are safely stored, right? And so we also have many urns at Place to Pause, where people bring an urn and then they come back and visit, often. So the butterfly release is connected with Place to Pause and remembrance and honoring loss. Yeah,
I'm tearing up because that is so precious. That is so magical. You're giving so much besides just walking a dog, besides just volunteering time. You're making that extra paw. You're making that extra walk, that extra, we didn't forget about you, we still have you. It just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I really want to thank you, Ardra, for everything you've done, like everything you've created, and for all the paws out there, all the lives that are changing. I can just imagine the stories that are coming in. And I'm sure when you get these emotional stories of a dog passing or something, how it might change your life as well,
Oh, absolutely. ElderDog has changed my life in so many ways. Yeah. I mean, if there's just a minute, I can just share a story that just kind of came in yesterday. So we have very special people volunteering with ElderDog as foster homes, right, for dogs who need that temporary home while they're in transition, and for the hospital stays. But within that population of volunteers, there are those very special people who care for dogs who are palliative. And one of those dogs passed away yesterday. And the foster, she's an amazing woman, and she cares for them, for palliative dogs, like you couldn't imagine. And a friend of hers said to her, I don't know how you can do this. You know, how can you take a dog in and watch that dog die? And her answer is so beautiful. She said, I don't watch them die, I watch them live.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, and there another one she watched live. You know, she extended this dog's life as she does with other dogs, and she watches them live. And it was just such a beautiful, I just want to share that.
That's beautiful. And no, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that story, because we need these stories out there, right? We need these positive, someone comes at us and says, how can you do that? Well, how can you, not see the beauty in it?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful comment, I watched them live.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the death, she focuses on the life.
Yes.
Knowing that even they're going to pass over, she still focuses on the positive.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left here. We're getting close to the hour. Ardra, I want to talk a little bit about, I have rough views here. What is rough views?
Oh, rough views. So, yeah, when we first started our online store, we thought, well, we have to do some advertising. So we found this app where you can take a photo of a dog and give that dog voice and animate the dog's mouth so it moves with the voice. So you would create a little script, and you can modulate the voice to whatever voice that dog might have, if that dog had a voice, and then speak the script, and the dog's mouth will move to the. So we started advertising some of our products with pictures of dogs talking.
Oh, that is so cute. And again, the universe does the magic, because you guys are all booked at a different time. The next guest that's coming on at 3 p.m. is Chubby Beagle Production, and they're an animation, and they work with diversity and animals and all. It's just funny how the universe just sets these tea times up there. As soon as you said animated dogs, I was like, oh my goodness. And the next guest this afternoon is animation production company, and they're called the Chubby Beagle Production, and they have a dog. It's just funny how it all works out together. I just love it when it all flows together. So any final words that you have for anyone who's listening, and how they can get involved, and for donations and all that good stuff?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really wonderful. I guess a couple things. We are 100% volunteer run and depend on donations and fundraising in our store to do what we do. And because we're 100% volunteer run, we don't have the overhead of salaries and so on. And our biggest cost, almost 90% of our budget, is vet care costs for dogs who come into our care. So I guess the thing that I really appreciate about this opportunity and you alluded to it a few minutes ago, is that when people find out about ElderDog, they think one of two things, and sometimes both. A, we're a dog walking service, and B, we're a rescue. And we do take dogs into our care, and we do walk some dogs, but this opportunity has been so wonderful to share some of the complexity of ElderDog and how we are just so much more than either of those two things. And so, yeah, I really would encourage people to visit our website, and there's a lot of information there, and consider being involved in any way that you can.
Well, I want to really thank you for sitting and sharing a good, strong tea. The teaching, educating the elder dogs, the awareness, the advocacy. We really just have to sometimes have an open discussion to find out a little bit more. Ask those questions. Get involved. Before we wrap up, I did notice that you have a calendar. So how does that work for the calendar?
Yeah, so each year we have a calendar, put out a calendar, and it's one of our big fundraisers, for one thing, but also it's a rather unique calendar in that there's a lot of information about ElderDog, and each feature for each month carries with it photos that really capture the heart of ElderDog, and stories, these beautiful stories that we get to tell, and so each year that comes out, usually around November, and is available through our online store.
So we can get the calendar for 2023, correct?
Oh yes, yeah, and of course, because we're halfway through it, it would be at a very, very significant discount if you want.
And for the people that are out there collecting calendars, this is one that you want to add to your collection. Again, I want to thank you, Ardra, for just sitting and having a good cup of tea with me and making a difference in all of these people's lives. Again, if anybody would like to check out the chapel, it is in Nova Scotia, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, in Lunenburg County.
Awesome. I've been wanting to go to Nova Scotia, and now I have even more of reason to go to Nova Scotia because I really want to check this out now.
Yeah, I love that.
So I want to thank all the listeners and all of the viewers. And if you're watching the replay, please push #replay. Let me know where you're tuning in from so I can always give a good. For all the supporters of Tea Time with Miss Liz, I could not do this without you. So continue to share these tea times. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you're notified when the tea times go live. And again, Audrey, I want to thank you so much for sitting with me this morning. And we'll be back at 3 p.m. with a second tea time. And as I was saying just a few minutes ago, Chubby Beagle Productions is coming in, and they're going to be talking about diversity. And they have their beagle. So we're going to be talking a little bit about dogs again. And then at the 7 o'clock show tonight, the evening show that closes up this week, we'll be talking about peace ambassadors and the importance of peace. So I feel that all three tea times again are aligned. We need to have the respect for the elders. We need to have that peace, the compassion, and the animation brings in the fun, brings in the playfulness, and diversity. We're all different and we all can make a difference together. So it all just aligns really good together. So I want to thank you again for joining me. I want to thank everyone who does support Tea Time with Miss Liz. Share these tea time with your family members. Sit down. And make it movie night and pick out one of these tea times, and who knows, ElderDog might be a part of your life next. So I want to thank everybody, and I want everyone to understand that these teas are deeply important to me for the guests that get to sit with me and share the incredible work that they do. So let's just continue to have the compassion. Let's use that word today, compassion, when we're going out and we see someone who's suffering or in pain. Just have a little bit more compassion, and have some compassion for the elders. Ms. Liz will be looking into that ageism. We'll get that on here. So I'll see everybody at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and then 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for this week, June 15th, tea times. So I want to thank everybody, and I will see you this afternoon, same time, same place, and we'll do it all over again.
Thanks so much.